Welcome to Canadian Innovators, the show that celebrates innovation, entrepreneurs, and the Canadian spirit. My name is Catherine Swift, and every week we introduce a new entrepreneur or expert on some important topic affecting Canadians to tell their stories and address the challenges of keeping jobs in Canada and discuss potential solutions for job growth and prosperity. Today I'll be speaking with Peter Menzies, someone that has a very diverse background in journalism. He's a former vice chairman of the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, the CRTC. He's a consultant on media and communications issues and currently a senior fellow with the Macdonald-Laurier Institute. He also runs a natural history museum in Regina, so he's a very eclectic person. Recently, Peter has been one of the most outspoken people in Canada against several pieces of legislation that are being put forward by the federal Liberal government that seek to censor content on the internet in one way or another. That's what we'll be discussing today. Just last week, Peter was honored by the Truth to Power Award from the Coalition of Concerned Manufacturers and Businesses of Canada. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Well, you know, Peter, there are, as I understand it, there are three different pieces of legislation that the federal Liberals have either already introduced into Parliament or plan to introduce in the next little while that will all have an impact on free speech, freedom of expression in one way or another. And I was wondering if I know this is a big ask, but could you briefly explain what they are, what they pertain to, and what they're supposed to accomplish?
I'll give it a go. One is Bill C-11, which is the Online Streaming Act. A year ago, it was known as Bill C-10 and never made its way through Parliament. The election got in the way, but it's back. Its intention is stated as to get money from web giants, but what it does is it gives the CRTC, grants the CRTC authority over the entire global internet. And it leaves it up to the CRTC to decide what part of it's going to regulate and has to regulate and how it's going to regulate it. And the contentious issues right now is that it appears to give, well, it doesn't appear to give, it does in section 4.2, the CRTC authority over user-generated content, which is yours and my cat videos or Facebook posts or grandchildren videos and that sort of stuff. It's complicated. It's not quite as simple as that, but it actually is as simple as that. The next one is Bill C-18, which is designed, it's pretty much a bailout package for legacy media. It was started by newspapers saying that, hey, Facebook and Google are making money with our content. We want our fair share. There's a very logical argument that comes back from Facebook and Google that says, hey, we're not taking your content. You guys are posting it, and it's driving traffic to your websites, so you probably owe us money. Doesn't matter. The government decided that it wants Facebook to send money to newspapers, and then it threw in broadcasters who didn't really need it, and threw in the CBC as well, who definitely doesn't need it. So I think, unfortunately, at the end of the day there, the newspapers are still going to be poor, and the CBC will be richer. That also brings the CRTC in an oversight role to oversee any mediation that has to take place and to affirm that the money being sent over to the newspapers, et cetera, news organizations, we'll call them, is spent the way the legislation says it has to be spent. So the government is in the newsrooms of the nation in terms of that. And there's one more to come, which is the Online Harms Act, which somehow seeks to take a whole bunch of things that are already against the law and restrict them online. And that's things like child pornography, hate speech, sharing of intimate images, et cetera, all those sorts of things. But there isn't anything that they've defined, except the government does talk a lot about being worried about disinformation and misinformation online. So that's been rejected a couple times. We'll see what they come up with this time. That's going to be the toughest one.
Together,
frankly.
The package represents an enormous intrusion into Canadians' free speech, freedom of expression. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and from what I understand, without precedent in the world. We're going to have to take a quick break now, so please stay tuned to Canadian Innovators.